What's going on YouTube? Ninja Turtle is back with more custom action figures of Marvel Legends variety, and today we're doing things differently in a way. I did mention this previously that I'm going to be trying to do not only more customs but doing more customs of one character at one time, so that way I can kind of knock out my queue of customs a little bit faster for each character instead of doing one costume and then not revisiting that character again for months or years, etc. So today, what I've been working on, I've done a classic, like first appearance Black Cat, and this is more of what Hasbro did a couple years ago. It's not modern. It's just kind of like something right before her current costume. She was like a Kingpin-ish character, villain arc sort of thing a few years back. So this is a remake of what Hasbro's done, and then this is just my own personal stylings of the classic Black Cat costume. So we're gonna go over both of these again. I made them both at the same time. I finished painting them both yesterday and put them together, and here we are filming this, and I'm just going to let you know what parts and pieces are comprising these customs, and that way if you're interested in doing your own and you want it to look like mine, you can do that. Also, of course, you can take your own your own liberties and go in your own direction. I know some people like super curvy Black Cat and so on, so do whatever you want. I think she looks like this, so that's why I made her like this. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So they are using relatively the same build on both. Again, we're just gonna go over everything. These are just painted white, but just white flats, and these are black flats, no heels for me. I think sometimes in comic books she wears heels, but usually it's just like a fan artist, or every once in a while she'll put on heels, but generally she wears flats. So flats on the classic and flats on the on this newer version here. Now again, this is based off of this is the remake of that. So this is the Hasbro version for what it's worth, and I did take a lot of parts from this to make my new version of it, and even this classic one in particular. All of the fur, the hair and stuff you can see on this figure, it's not on it because I took it off and just plopped it on here, so you can see it on her forearms and on her legs. These are unpainted, they just came straight off of here and were put on there. As far as the legs go, which I want to touch back on that, the legs for both of these figures are from the Netflix the Netflix MCU Elektra, like they're blue jeans legs for what it's worth. So on each of them, it's kind of hard to see again because of the black, but on each of them you can see a little bit of like the fabric. Like again, these were like blue jeans, they're supposed to be blue jean legs. You can see some of the cloth ripples here on the back of the leg, and some here on like towards the knee and stuff. On this figure, on the classic one, they're using the same legs, but I actually dremeled all of the detail off on the classic figure because I wanted this one to look like it was skin tight, to look like it was just no fabric ripples whatsoever. So I dremeled all of that detail off completely, including on the ankles and so on. So the only really fabric little loosings that you see are like on the shoes, because I didn't really want to bother that. And then of course her hair. So again, the hair all over the figure, the forearms and stuff, it is glued on the classic one, but it is loose on the newer version here. So it's not actually attached on this version here. But like I said, I wanted the classic Black Cat to look more like it was a super tight fit, like skin tight type of fit, where the newer one has more of a bodysuit and it has the cloth ripples and so on, and fits that way. Same thing with the arms. These are bodysuit arms, so they do have some cloth ripple. As you can see a little bit here on the shoulders and arms there, where this one is just a standard Kate Bishop arm. So any type of arm that you would see from any standard figure like this. It's just black. In fact, these arms actually came from these black arms came from the Spider Woman here, and those are just straight up black arms, nothing fancy on the Spider Woman's arms, and then had to glue, like I said, the fur on there, the hair, glue that on there, and painted it white, and then painted the rest of the forearm white. While I'm on it, though, this Spider Woman, this lower torso on the Spider Woman, you can see all the nice cloth ripples on this as well. This bodysuit, or I guess it's really more of a jacket on this figure, but I used this lower torso on this newer black cat. So going back to the old one, the actual Hasbro original one, this is a bodysuit. This torso on this one is shorter. It's just, this would make this character a lot taller, and that's one reason why I decided to do these builds and make them this way, is because Black Cat is supposed to be 5'10", 5'11", something like that, so she should be pretty tall, and these builds make her adequately taller, or at least given the scale that I normally make my figures, this makes her much taller than what Hasbro normally makes. These are relatively full-length legs on both, and then full-length torsos, upper and lower. So she's pretty tall, and again, I think she's supposed to be thinner, so I'm using those blue jean legs specifically because I think she should look thinner. If you want her to be super curvy and have thick thighs and all that, just use different legs. That's completely up to you. It's your builds versus my builds. There's no necessarily only one way. Do whatever you want. With that being said, the paint on here, I'm trying to match this the same, as far as the same yellow, and it's pretty close. I think it's called Chrome Yellow. It's Model Masters. I don't have a whole lot of that paint left, but it did work out pretty well. I did paint it a little bit differently from what Hasbro did here. I like this just a little bit better, but this is still fine. And of course, yes, the fur, the hair going across her neck. Since it is supposed to be a copy of this figure, I just took it right off of here. You can see it's missing, and it's just glued right onto this top, which is, again, it looks like a standard, like a Kate Bishop's top. It's not anything more special than this. In fact, this, I believe, actually came from Invisible Woman, but the black suited one, not this particular one here. And then on this side, this upper torso is, again, is meant to be more, at least what the look I was going for is more of a skin tight. So we're not using the bodysuit or t-shirt type of look. We're using what I ended up using was a Shikla top. So and it's just this upper torso from Shikla, and then repainted. I did use the same sort of deal, the same hair that came from off of this figure, and started it here and glued it on there, but it's not long enough to go all the way down to the bottom of her chest, so that was filled in with epoxy sculpt just to go down. Now I did intend and want there to be cleavage on this. I'm sorry guys, I failed you. I absolutely wanted cleavage on this figure, and I did my best to try to guide it down there, but one mistake was that I didn't glue. When I glued this hair on, I glued it too close. It should have been a little bit wider, so that way it can come out more and go straight down. But also, this chest isn't really meant for this kind of cleavage. So that kind of cleavage, is to say. So I should have either made her boobs bigger, or just adjusted her chest. Or what I could have done, and probably should have done, as far as cleavage goes, I should have used this one. As far as the upper torso, this one is just better for cleavage overall. This is a female beetle upper torso. I should have used this instead, but I let you guys in the comment section punk me out of it, and that's probably why I don't want to listen to too much of my comments. I should have used this, and it would have looked better for what I'm trying to do with cleavage, but because of particularly this neck, it doesn't fit normal head sculpts. I have to swap the neck pin, and it's just a long, it is indeed a longer neck, like the commenter said. And that's why I don't use this one very often, but I should have done it anyway, and not care that the neck is longer. Like, I don't know why anyone would pay attention to the neck, but that's what you guys are really sticklers about. You want to look at all the small details and say the neck is too long when you should be looking at other things. But that's that. Other than that, I did completely forget, but it ended up working out fine. I forgot to put a choker on this black cat. After I had glued this hair on there, I was like, oh crap, the choker. But there really wouldn't have been room for the choker to be loose on her neck anyway. So I ended up, after this hair was glued on, just sculpting a choker on there and sculpting the little beads there. So that is hard sculpted on. The other black cat doesn't have a choker. But now that we're up this high, let's talk about faces. As far as this face go and hair, this is using the same hair as the Hasbro one that they did. I just like that hair really a lot, actually, just for anything. But I say, yeah, might as well just use it for this figure. The faces on both of them, though, the head sculpts are actually the retro carded black cat that came out maybe a year or two ago. It is the same head on both. With the only difference is I had to paint everything because these are casted. This is not like the actual Hasbro head. So I had to cast both heads and then repaint them entirely. So that's why the eyes are a little goofy, a little funny. It's very hard to paint eyes. It's very small detail, but I did my best and improving all the time. On this look, though, you see the Hasbro version has red lips. And I looked in the comics. I was actually referencing comics as I was making both of these. In the comics, she usually has either really dark red or black lipstick. I really prefer the black lipstick, so I went with that. Gave it a little bit of gloss and painted the rest as best I could. As far as the classic black cat goes, just red lipstick. Again, painted how I just did my best I can. The hair itself, though, is actually from the Julia Comforter Spider-Woman Marvel Legend. And is another hair sculpt that I really like and use way too often, but I thought it worked just fine for what I needed for on this figure. And yeah, I think it turned out really good. I think both of them turned out really good. I think overall the face paint, like the eyes and all of that detail, turned out a little bit better on this figure. Overall, like I said, I'm doing like a new process and trying to get really good at painting eyes because I really need to. That's like the biggest thing I need to improve on, is painting eye detail and faces and stuff. But that being said, there's one last thing to discuss, and that is the sheen. It's kind of hard to see on camera, not gonna lie, especially since it's black. But I have new sealer and finish to put on my figures now. So this one has a flat finish on all of the skin. So both of them do, I should say, on all skin is flat finish. On all of her bodysuit and everything, here it is a matte finish. So the entire thing is matte finish, where on the classic black cat is a satin finish. So let me grab those really quickly here. Oh, here we are. As I drop everything. This was sitting in front of my face this entire time, and I just started using this for these figures, and that is this Angelus coats, the Angelus coats. I've been saying for years that I've been using Angelus acrylic leather paint on hair and capes and other flexible plastic accessories, and sometimes on the bodies of the figure. But I never actually used their finish coats up until now, and I've been looking for a really good finish coat because it's been an issue, which I will show you one of the issues shortly that I've had with other materials. But they have flat, they have matte, they have satin, they have gloss, and it works really well. It is scratch resistant. You can see urethane clear coat, scratch resistant. It is flexible. so you can bend and all of that, and it won't crack. It has all these different finishes. It looks good, comes in a good size. It doesn't, most of the time, it doesn't cause the paint to reactivate and spread unless, like, I use hand brush it on, and sometimes it will reactivate depending on what brand of clear coat that I use. But this stuff, I've had the least amount of problems in that regard, so I do recommend that. I did try Vallejo, or excuse me, not Vallejo. I tried what's that stuff called? Tamiya. I tried the Tamiya stuff. That stuff is very toxic. It smells bad. You can't use it in an enclosed space. You need to be well ventilated. So I don't recommend that, but it does work. The Tamiya stuff, and I tried a couple others, and some of them were just really sticky or not the right finish. Like it says flat, but it was actually glossy sort of thing. So this stuff really works really well. So I recommend using at least using like the satin and the matte finishes. And obviously, if you need glossy, use glossy. I did use gloss on her lips on this one, so they're a little bit glossy there. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do a quick black cat comparison, and we can end the video. All right, now, would you believe that Hasbro just does not make Black Cat the way that I want her to look? So I had to make all of these. These are all customs. All of them. Every single one of these are a custom. Even though I do like the retro carded Black Cat, in particular the face. That's why these all three are using the same retro carded Black Cat face. And this one is using a Netflix Electra face and hair. But still, yeah, Hasbro does not make them the way I like them. So I'm going to, I'm done. This is actually it. For the most part, I don't think there are any other Black Cat costumes that I want to make or want to see made by myself or Hasbro, other than one exception, which is very, very, very new. She's officially a part of Spider-Verse. Like, she's a spider character now. I think it's called Night Spider or something like that. So it's not really her as Black Cat, but still, Felicia is now a Spider-Verse character. So I think Hasbro might make that one day. So I'm going to hold off on making that particular costume. But again, just in case you're new here, this is the PS4 Spider-Man, the Insomniac Spider-Man. I made that a while back, so there is a video on that if you're curious on this. Again, our classic first appearance Black Cat. Then the more recent, it's basically in between, because this is the modern Black Cat. I made that not too long ago. There's a separate video on this, and this is just kind of in between in the timeline. Again, she's like a Kingpin, kind of a villain-ish character when she wore this costume, and I really dig this costume a lot. Obviously, I made it. But yeah, I don't think there are any other ones that I even want. I hate the Claws costume in general, and I don't know if there's any other Black Cat costumes outside of that I even care for. So I'm done. So that's the whole idea. I want to be done and finished with characters in entirely like all at once, or at least as quickly as possible. I don't need to make Black Cat ever again, unless again I decide to make the Night Spider thing. But everything is good. In the future, they'll be consistent in skin tone, because that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to do everything together. Like, these two have the same paint for flesh, but I did these two at different times, so they don't match in flesh tone, although I did pretty close in getting them in together, but they don't match with these two. I really like this figure a lot. I don't feel like repainting it, especially since it has that really great eyeshadow in it. From that retro carded Black Cat, and the eyes are just painted perfectly because I didn't touch them. But this one though, this one kind of needs to be remade, because this is one of the early days for me for this figure. So I do kind of want to remake it to get the flesh tone to match. Also fix up any of the issues that I had, like with the sculpt on her forearms, some of the inconsistencies with the paint. Also, I want to make her a little taller, give her a bigger bust, etc. things like that. But one of the biggest things with these two on the ends is that since they were older figures, I did use Mod Podge on the sealer. And Mod Podge is basically, it's a finish, it's a sealer, but it's basically glue. And these are on the bottom shelf of my collections of all of my stuff. So they attract, the bottom shelf gets a lot of dust and dirt. So these are not dirty, but they have a lot of dust on them, and it's really hard to clean off because the top coat is basically glue. So all of the dust and dirt on these, it's kind of hard to see. Again, it's black, but they're really dusty, and it's nasty looking. It's hard to clean, and I don't want to deal with that anymore. So there's a chance that I might at least repaint this last one here, the Black Cat PS4. And I don't want to repaint every single custom I've done. That's kind of tiring, but I am inspired to do a handful of other ones to get them to be a little bit cleaner looking, use some of my current skill and techniques and current paint and current finish to make them look a little bit better. But that is stuff that'll happen over the course of time. But thank you for watching this video. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to do more of customs of different costumes for one character all at one time. So it may take me longer to do videos. You know, I'm not going to have them like hit a bunch at one time or a bunch in 1 month. It might be a little bit longer in between. But the next character that I am working on as of probably tomorrow will be Emma Frost. I just did an Emma Frost not long ago, and guess what? I need to actually redo that one. The Phoenix 5 actually broke on me, and I will go over that in the video the next time when I'm uploading. And I'm going to make the Phoenix 5 Emma Frost, but also several others at the same time. So it'll be a big Emma Frost video. So be looking forward for that. Again, it'll take me a little bit of time before I can get to it because it's going to be painting several figures at one time, and I have to get all of the materials ready and sculpting and all of that stuff. But make sure you subscribe, make sure you are liking this video if you did like it, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of how these turned out and what else you'd like to see me make. I'd like to see your feedback, and I'm open for what you'd like to see me work on next. But I will see you guys next time. Peace.